Corina Pataki is the author of 4 books. She is a spiritual minister and is also a political refugee from Romania. And during her youth in Romania, she was identified as someone with exceptional abilities. And she remembers being exposed to different programs where she got to interact with some of the most advanced technologies that are known in the Romanian intelligence service and in the West are known as being associated with the Hall of Records in the Bucegi Mountains.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Well, welcome, Corina, to Exopolitics Today.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. What an honor to be with you, Dr. Salla. You are a great man, so to be able to sit here across from you, it's such a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for having me.
Well, you've had some exceptional experiences, and I know your background is fascinating. I mean, you are Romanian by birth, and at a very early age, your birth circumstances were very, very unusual. So maybe take us to the beginning. What was it about your birth that was so unusual and that made you a person of interest eventually with the Romanian intelligence services?
Yes, so I'm getting a lot of memories, things that I did not know before, but are coming back to the front of my memories. And they are being collaborated by my parents. So this particular one that has to do with my birth, that is so interesting. What happened was I was born February the 6th. However, I was supposed to be born on the 1st. So what had happened was the evil ones, or the ones that tried to stop my birth from happening or to take me out because of what I was sent here to do, altered my timeline. So I was supposed to be born on the February the 1st, but what happened is I was born on the 6th. On the 1st, my mom's water broke. So here I was in my mom's womb for 6 days with absolutely no water. They transferred her to 2 separate cities where the doctors would not touch her. So when my mom told me about this situation, I spent time, I ascended and I said, okay, what happened here? And I had a very clear, Dr. Salla, a very vivid memory where I saw myself in the womb on February the 6th. The umbilical cord was completely dry. It was wrapped around my neck, but it was completely, utterly dry. Now from there, I got out of that memory, and I went into the memory of February the 1st when I was supposed to be born. Now, I had 2 of my dear friends with me, and they can collaborate this because they saw exactly what I saw before I even said anything. Now, in that memory, all of a sudden, when I looked, I was in the fluid, I was in my mom's tummy, and when I looked at the umbilical cord from probably about 1 inch or so from my umbilical cord, it went into my mom. But then another one came out, and it was very, very thick, probably this thick. It came out in front of me, over my head, and it attached to the back of my head. Now, what is interesting, this is when I heard very, very clear that they altered, the evil ones altered my timeline because they did not want me to be born. However, divine creator, Father God, allowed them to do this because had I been born on February the 1st, the doctors would have seen that and they would have taken me away. So, there's a scripture that says that all things work together for good. So in that particular instance, what had happened, because I was, my mom's fluid, her water broke. Her water broke on the 1st. My umbilical cord completely dried up. Now, the reason why the umbilical cord it was probably about almost 5 feet long. and it, like I said, it was quite thick. The reason it was attached to the back of my head is because this time I was supposed to be born with all of my memories intact, so that I can begin to do everything that I needed to do from, from the moment that I was able to do everything that was put in front of me to be able to do. So this was very interesting because, again, they took my mom had to go in 2 separate cities and 2 separate hospitals, and they would not touch her until February the 6th. And obviously she had a cesarean. And by that time, the umbilical cord was completely dry. And actually, the doctors told my mom that it's a miracle that we both survived. So that was very, very interesting, Dr. Sala, especially seeing so clear and so vivid these memories and my timeline being altered.
Well, that's very interesting. So clearly, in terms of your normal birth on February 6th, I mean, there was nothing exceptional about that because the umbilical cords were dried up and quite small. And you got those visions or those memories of what could have been a birth 5 days earlier that you were supposed to be born, where these umbilical cords would have been much thicker and much more evident and kind of stood out. And that's significant because we know from the Transylvania Sunrise book series that the main protagonist of that series his name is Caesar Brad, and he describes how at birth he was born with a very thick and very long umbilical cord, and the Romanian doctors were instructed to be on the lookout for children born with that. So that shows that the Romanians understood. The Romanian intelligence services had instructed medical personnel to be on the lookout for people born with very unusual umbilical cords. So the vision or the memories that you got of what would have been your birth suggests that you would have been identified, you would have been taken away,
Yes.
and your life would have been very different. But because there was that 5-day delay, your mother's water broke, so you were in there for 5 days without the water kind of providing fluid for the umbilical cords. Then everything appeared normal to the doctors.
Yes, even though they knew that there would have been a very slim chance of survival because of being with no water. I mean, the doctor called the students and they all observed and they all looked at, this birth. But absolutely. And, when I was 12 years old, living in Chicago, I actually ended up for a week in the hospital, and they ran tests on me. And this doctor, he was an elder Romanian Jewish doctor that was in charge. They put me through the only 2 tests I remember were the CAT scan that they did, and then the one where they attached all kinds of wire to my brain, to my head on the outside. Now, what he said is that they saw a black spot or something. They don't know what it was under cerebellum, the part of my brain, my head, my brain in the back, exactly where the umbilical cord was attached in my memory. So there is that in writing. And the doctor just did not know what that was at that time. So absolutely, had I been born on the 1st, they would have for sure taken me away. So this was definitely a protection. And throughout my story, there are 2 forces here that are at play. There was very clear visible of the evil ones, if you would, the ones that were after me. And then there was another force that was good, trying to protect me. So just throughout the story, as I will, share with you and with your beautiful audience, it's so clear how I was protected from the ones that were trying to get to me, including our exit from Romania.
Yes, we will get to that. So now, when you were 2 years old, you went to the Black Sea and you spent 12 days. Now, can you describe what happened during those 12 days? You were without your parents? So
Yes.
explain that.
This is very strange. Again, I have a memory of being small. I was in a crib. So, and because I was during nursery, in Romania, nursery was 12 years and under. And then you had first level kindergartens, middle level kindergarten, older level kindergarten, and then first grade. So I remember being in the crib, and my mom had to take my brothers to the Black Sea because the Black Sea was very much encouraged by doctors to take their children that had problems with respiratory or heart issues because of the mud or nutrients that was in it. So I remember that I was not going because I had just come from the Black Sea with the nursery. So I knew this, but about 3 months ago, I called my parents and I said, explain to me what happened there. So this is what they said. When I was in nursery in Romania, from the nursery, they came to my parents, and not only to my parents, there are other children in this in the nursery. And the leaders from the nursery came to them and said that the state is paying for these children, again, 2 years old and under, to be taken to the Black Sea by the school. So the way they presented this to my parents, in order for my parents to consent, was that, you will not have money, more than likely, to take your daughter to this amazing, she will not have this opportunity to be taken to the Black Sea because, you don't have vacation and it's very expensive. So the state has paid for us to be able to take your daughter. So will you consent to letting us take her? Now, Dr. Sala, Timișoara, which is the largest city in Romania, is on the western part of Romania, like middle western. And the Black Sea is all the way southeast. So that means that they traversed the country with 2-year-old children. So, and I was gone for 12 days. And my dad said that when I came back, I was very dirty and my hair was extremely not dirty, but stuck together, like with substances. It was just completely glued together. Now, I don't have clear memories of this, but I know that this was part of the ones that were not good. They were trying to, not only me, I asked my dad if he remembers about how many children, probably we were between 10 to 12 of us, that took us to the Black Sea. So again, I was gone without my parents for 12 days. They transversed the country. And this is when I feel that these were not good. They were trying to find, to do certain experiments and find the powers that I was carrying.
So you were at that time only 2 years old. So somehow you stood out. Somehow they were able to identify at nursery that you had these abilities and that you were an exceptional child. And they presumably took you to the Black Sea for whatever testing, evaluation, or whatever they could do in that 12 days. Was there anything that your parents said about your abilities at that age, at that time, that made you stand out?
Yeah, I've always had very unusual abilities. I always saw beyond what you would call the normal. I've always had, at the age of 9.5, what Christians would call prophet. I walked in that mantle. So I've always had these spiritual abilities. Now you have to understand, the sad part is that when my parents became Christians or born again, when I was 7 years old, every ability that was not understood and that did not fit in the dogma of Christianity would have been deemed demonic. So number one, I was very careful as I grew up. I was very careful what I shared with my parents. And then my parents, whatever they saw in me, they were very careful not to bring it to the forefront because, again, it would be, because my grandmother was Christian and, very, very much so in the charismatic Christian faith. And anything, again, that was not understood was deemed demonic. So my parents were very careful. But yes, I've always had very unusual abilities. Always saw, always heard, always communicated with God, communicated with Yeshua. I spent my nights literally not sleeping, but communicating and engaging with heaven, engaging with other realms. So yeah, absolutely. And this journey just started, at that age, at 2 years old. So obviously they saw something to where they took me for 12 days.
Well, clearly, there's the Christian dogma deems any kind of advanced psychic ability as being demonic, whereas the intelligence community see such abilities as very exceptional, and that they want people who have those abilities. So definitely you were in a very strange position.
Yeah.
So in 1978 now, you're 4 years old, and again, there's a visit to the Black Sea, and you disappear for two days. So what happened at that age?
Yeah. So at this time when I was 4 years old, we went as a family to the Black Sea. My parents had some vacation and we went. So the strange thing is, Dr. Sala, on the first day that we got there, my mom loves the sun. She loved laying out in the sun. So the first thing in the morning after we had breakfast, we went out on the beach. And my older brothers, I have two older brothers. I'm the youngest of three. And they were playing in the water. I didn't want to really get in the water. So I was playing near, not all the way inside the water. So at the waves. Okay. I was playing there. And all of a sudden I was playing and the water started taking me away. And when I looked back, I couldn't find my mom. I couldn't find my dad. I couldn't find my brothers. So I remember walking along the edge of the water. And at first I was crying because I was scared, obviously. But then the next memory, Dr. Sala, I have is nighttime starts, the sun starts going down. And I see a statue of, you know how you have at the ocean or the beaches, of a octopus. And I go around the statue one time, and all of a sudden I had a clear distinction that I had to turn around and find my parents. And to me, it seems like I walked maybe 20 minutes and I found my parents. Now, I want to make this point that in Romania during summer, the days are extremely long. So the sun does not start setting until about 10 or 10:30. So you're talking about then from 8 to 10 hours, I was gone. Now, the weird thing is my mom is a very cautious mom. And this is so strange because I talked to my parents and they did not even call the police. They felt such peace. And again, they're looking at it right now, looking back, they feel like they've lost their mind because there was absolutely such a peace that came over them. It's like something took over their mind to where they were not panicked. Now, here I was 4 years old and my mom is a very cautious mom. So for whatever fell over them, for them not to freak out, now they did look for me. So Dr. Sala, imagine you are between 8 to 10 hours in the sun. I would have been burned to a crisp, and I was not. And I came back to my parents. Like I said, when I came to, I don't remember what happened in that hour. I'm getting some memories slowly in that 8 to 10 hour. But when I came back, I saw myself. There was a statue again, like an octopus. I went around it and immediately I knew that I had to turn, what direction to turn, maybe walk 10 minutes, 20 minutes maximum. My parents were there. Now, this happened again, not the day after, but the day next. So I was lost within a three-day period, two times. So this happened not the next day, but the day after. The exact same thing happened. Only I went in another direction. So, I started getting some memories of where I was, but they're just now coming to the surface. But I believe from the memories that I'm receiving that I definitely went under in hollow earth, and there's something there that I saw. And again, I'm still getting memories. But then I'll share with you another memory that I had very strongly of the mountains, where I got into the mountains and what I saw that I was doing.
Okay, well, yeah, that does sound like maybe you kind of like walk through some sort of portal. And this is, again, one of the abilities that the intelligence community is very interested in people, those that have this ability to turn portals on and off and to be able to walk through them. And they seek that. I mean, and we know this, in various projects in the United States, they've had projects where they would using children for that reason, because they knew children could more easily go through and come back through these portals, as opposed to adults who would die or get stranded or something. So it sounds like you were spontaneously able to do that at 4 years old. Now, if we kind of fast forward a little bit to 1981, now your family is Christian. Romania at that time was communist under the Nicolae Ceausescu regime.
Mhm.
And your family tried to escape communist Romania. I mean, there were 4 of you. Your mother and 3 children were tried to escape. You were part of a group of 9. So, yeah, can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, so we actually attempted to escape twice. The first time I was 7 years old, 7.5 years old, and it was my mom, my older brothers, myself, and my dad with a couple that had a baby. So I want to say something about this particular situation. So it's, our 2 attempts to escape communist Romania, it's been heard throughout regions of Romania because of how supernatural and crazy and out of this world it was. And the first time we lost my dad on the border, he made it, but we lost him for 3 months. We don't know if he was dead or alive. Now, the second time, let me just pause on here. So after we lost my dad, our first attempt, we had to return back to our home. Dr. Sala, I was 7.5 years old. We lived across from a little park from the building where we lived, and there were kids playing outside. And all of a sudden, my older brother, what happens is this man approaches my older brother. From all these kids, he goes straight to my older brother and he says, he introduces himself from the intelligence department. And he starts asking him questions of where he lives. Now, let me explain something. When we came back and we lost my dad on the border and we did not know if he was dead or alive, if he had crossed over and made it or if he did not, we knew very, very well not to say a word to anybody, because if the Securitate finds out, we would be in trouble. We would be imprisoned or killed. So all of us knew not to give any information to anybody. So here is this guy that comes up to my brother, my older brother, introduces himself as from the intelligence department, asks him questions about us, where we live, and he proceeds to ask, he said, so you have siblings? And my brother said yes. And he said, and you have a sister? And my brother said yes. Now, something came over my brother that he began to tell the guy that my dad escaped from Romania. Now, if this guy was from the Securitate department, and if this was his desire to find out, we would have been in trouble. He did not care about my dad trying to escape. All he cared about was for my brother to give him information about his siblings, and particularly his sister. So he told my brother, I want you to please write a summary for me and meet me tomorrow. Gave him the place where to meet him, and I want the summary from you. Now, again, you would think that my brother would have known better, but something came over him to where he did what this guy said. Obviously, well, the next day, my mom found the essay that my brother wrote. She involved the police. They set up a sting operation. The guy wasn't there. So again, here we are at the age of 7.5, where a intelligence officer comes to look for me. Now, the second attempt, Dr. Sala, is when we were 9 people, and I'm going to just relate to you just really some amazing things that happened. The whole story is so huge, it's so supernatural. But I do want to say we were captured. We were captured at the border. We walked 40 kilometers towards the Yugoslavian border, where we saw the moon, and we knew that in a hill, and over that hill is Yugoslavia. But there was a decision made by the other people in the group that the daybreak is coming, so we should park it and go and sleep on the border in this very tall grass. And when we woke up, I woke up to a lot of screaming happening. And a farmer had stumbled over us, and my uncle was part of the group, said, oh, mister, can you help us? We lost our way, and, we need to find our way back home. He said, oh, I'll get you help. Dr. Sala, of course, when he came back with probably about 50 guards that were so, what you would call demonized, if I can say that. They were almost drooling at the excitement of finding us. They came on horses. They came with guns. They came with long metal poles, desiring I was so scared. I started crying and I said, I just don't want, I said, I don't want to see my parents and my brothers being killed. Now, we were taken to that border patrol office right there. And Dr. Sala, this is where a lot of amazing things happened, but I want to get to this particular thing. All of a sudden, we were closed in some cells. They were very tiny cells, and they were made all out of cement and 2 metal benches. We were locked in there, and my mom, probably after a couple of hours, the door gets opened, and we as the children, so me and my 2 brothers, are allowed, Dr. Sala, the cherry trees were in full, the cherries were full on the trees. We as children were allowed to go outside. The soldiers picked me up in their arms and would get cherries for me from the trees and allow us to eat cherries and allow me to take cherries in to my uncle, to my mom, and to the other people. Now, let me explain something to you. This was highly unusual because they do not care if you're a child, if you're pregnant, if you're a man, if you're a woman. They kill anybody that comes on the border. The wolf dogs that were there circling us, they encircled me for over an hour, breathing on me. They are literally trained that you are their meal. These soldiers, if one person escapes, what they do to these soldiers, they beat them severely like they do with the dogs. They keep them outside in the rain. They take away every privilege for them to go visit their family. So in a sense, they program these soldiers with so much hate for anybody that would try to escape, that when they capture somebody that tries to escape, they literally, they either shoot them or they beat them or they maim them or they kill them. So we were very aware. I mean, they didn't care. We heard all the time that a pregnant woman, got killed, both her and her children. So for them to open the door, their whole attitude, Dr. Sala, completely shifted. And if I would get into the whole story, your viewers probably would understand even more how amazing what I'm describing is. So at one point, after they picked me up, you understand, these same soldiers that were ready to kill us became so full of love and compassion and caring that they actually would climb the cherry trees to get me cherries and allow my brothers to climb the cherry trees. Now, in that time, a major came. He came and he called my mom in the office. And this major that came, he is a major in the Securitate. Now, the Securitate is like the CIA. They deal with state secrets. They don't really mess around with people that attempt to escape, with defectors, unless there is a reason for them to get involved. But in your typical attempt to escape, they don't get involved. Who is in charge of that is the Border Patrol and the lieutenant of that particular border office where these people were captured. Now, Dr. Sala, here is this major from the Department of the Securitate that had a special function, meaning he dealt with special cases. He drove 3.5 hours from his house. He called my mom in the office, and this is what he said to her. He said, Miss Tons, I want to tell you something. I got a phone call early this morning, probably 3 or 4 in the morning. And he said, and I was told that the wolf dogs sent somebody on the border. Then I got another phone call, and I was told that you were captured in a group of 9 people. He said, I told them to let you rot, over there. Listen, this is important. And then he said, then I got another phone call, and I wrote down exactly what my parents related to me. He said, then I got another phone call, and I knew that I had to get up. I was not given any peace. I had to get up, I had to get dressed, and I had to get you and your children out of there, to not even let you spend there one night and take you back to the place where you left from. Now, Dr. Sala, this does not happen. A major from the Securitate Department that has a special function to leave his home, his bed, and say that I had to, because of a phone call that he received, to get you and your children out of here, to take you back where you came from. That does not happen. Now, Dr. Sala, yes, I know God, divine source, was in control of all of this. But I just want to tell you that we were the only ones that were dropped off at my grandmother's house. The rest of the group were taken to prison. Now,
before you go on, I just wanted to kind of like make some connection here, which I think is very relevant, because after that first escape attempt, your older brother, was asked to write about you in particular to someone within Romanian intelligence service, even though your family wasn't detected. I mean, your father escaped during that first attempt, but the rest of the family returned.
Mm-hmm.
And with the other couple, I presume,
yes.
to your home, but Romanian intelligence, the Securitate, was aware of the escape attempt, or at the very least, when your brother said, we tried to escape, nothing happened. So that showed that the Securitate were very interested in your family, and and I can confirm that the communist regimes, in dealing with dissidents, they could be ruthless. In fact, I actually have a very similar background. My father was a political refugee from communist Albania, and he escaped into Yugoslavia. And the things he described were very similar to what you described. But they can be ruthless with people. And the fact that your family was not maltreated is very significant. It meant that there were people within the Romanian intelligence community that said, this family has something very special that we are monitoring. And you seem to be the person of interest that allowed your family to continue to flourish, even though your father had escaped. The Romanian intelligence community knew about your father's escape, but they didn't harass your family. You weren't all imprisoned, put into concentration camps, because that was the standard process for communist regimes in that part of the world. So then you have this second attempt where you're part of the group of 9. You and your family are separated because this major with the Securitate intervenes when the border patrol, otherwise they would have just done horrible things to you and your family. So I just wanted to provide that context, because I think it's very important to be clear that someone within the Romanian intelligence community was very interested in you in particular, and because of that, your entire family was allowed to continue to live live as normal as they could. I know your father had escaped, but you were returned back to your home and given a certain degree of protection.
Yes. Yeah, you're so right. And Dr. Sala, this is what I feel. I don't know, but what I feel is that there were, like I was telling you at the beginning, that there were 2 different, if I can call them entities, departments. One of them wanted to cause harm. The other one was there to protect. So I feel that this phone call that this major received was from somebody that may have been higher than him, telling him, because his first response was to my mom, I told them, the lieutenant that was in charge of the border patrol where we were captured, to let you rot in hell. I didn't care. So this phone call that he received put him in such a state of, I needed to get up, I needed to get dressed, and I knew I needed to pick you up and your children and take you back to where you came from for our protection. So somebody was twisting his arm, if you will, to get him to protect us. Now, Dr. Sala, not only that, but they, meaning the lieutenant from the border patrol, took all the money, not only from my mom, from everybody, right? Because that was the standard. And when the major was talking to my mom, called her in that office, before my mom turned to leave, he said, Miss Tons, and he gave her back all her money. Now, Dr. Sala, this is not done. This is just not normal. So not only that, they drop us off, the major, drop us off at my grandmother's house, and the rest of the team, sadly, including women, they're taken to prison. Now, my mom all, including my uncle, they all had to do prison time. The women, there were two other women in the group, they were sentenced to hard labor. Now, my mom, she was sentenced to a harsher labor to pay the punishment for us three children. So she was sentenced. And when we went to the court, the whole courthouse was packed. I mean, people were talking about it in the bus stations, train stations, because they heard about this case, because it was so supernatural. And a case like this was not really heard in Romania. So the judge basically threw the book at my mom, and he sentenced her for hard labor to pay the price for us also as children. So my mom would have had to do labor about 10 to 14 hours each day. Now, Dr. Sala, everybody else showed up. My uncle, the guys were in prison. The women showed up to work to fulfill their sentence. My mom is still not being called to fulfill her sentence. During the exact same time, Dr. Sala, my grandmother encourages my mom to go and file the paperwork for her to receive the passport. Now, let me draw you the picture, because you know, with your father escaping communism, how stupid and crazy it sounds, right? So here you are, you're captured, your cases are throughout Romania, and you are waiting to be called to serve your sentence, and you dare to go to the government and put the paperwork for you to receive your passport so that you can go to America to be reunited with your husband that escaped. But my mom went. Listen to what I'm telling you. She went to the passport office in Timișoara, and when she went in there, the chief, which were very highly governmental officials of the passport office, came to my mom, and my mom said, you know, Mr. So-and-so, I would like to file the papers to come for my passport, but I am under arrest. I'm waiting for my sentence to be served, for me to serve my sentence. The guy looks at my mom, the chief of this passport department, looks at my mom and he says, Miss Tans, file your paperwork. And don't keep coming wasting your time to check. Because I'm telling you, I promise that you and your children will leave Romania and you will be reunited with your husband. Now, Dr. Sala, that does not happen. So we were waiting for this huge miracle. What was the prayer of the miracle that we were all praying for? That Ceausescu would release a pardon, which never happened. That our passport, now let me explain to you the situation with passports. My aunt and uncle waited 10 years between the first time they filed their paper for the passport and the day when they received their passport. 10 years. People waited 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15 years to receive their passport. So this is what had happened, Dr. Sala. My mom was still not called to serve her sentence. One morning I wake up, I'm making it really short here. One morning I wake up in my grandmother's house with excitement in the house. My cousins come shaking me. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Ceausescu gave a pardon, Corina. Ceausescu gave a pardon. And on that day, Dr. Sala, my mom was called to the courthouse, the big courthouse in Timișoara, the center. And she went before I'm not sure, I don't remember if he was a lieutenant or actually I think he was a major, but I need to ask to get clarification for this. And the guy sat my mom down and he said, Miss Tans, do you know why you were not called to serve your sentence? And my mom said, why, sir? And he takes out a file. Dr. Sala, my mom's file was attached to a file of a man that's been dead for 25 years. They so happened to find this man's file with my mom's file attached to it on the same day when Ceausescu gave a pardon. And on the same day, the guy, this officer looks at my mom and he says, and Miss Tans, you are leaving the country. You and your children are protected. You are set free. And he says, go pick up your passport next office. Now, Dr. Sala, this does not happen.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely very unusual for communist regimes. And as I said, my father, he had escaped into Yugoslavia and forced to work for the Yugoslav government. And when he tried to leave for Europe, and he tried to escape, he was caught, and he was put into a prison, into a concentration camp, and he spent a few years in a concentration camp as a dissident, and only got out because of the International Committee for the Red Cross intervened on his behalf. So, that was the normal treatment for those that tried to escape. So for your family to have two interventions, one was that major with Securitate who intervened and took you away from the border patrol that would have abused your family, and then the second time with that pardon. Now, this raises the question. Now, what was it? Who was behind this? Now, one plausible explanation was that there were people in high levels of the Romanian intelligence that were very interested in you in particular. And we know from the Radu Cinema books, he identified this Department Zero as a department that was set up to handle people with extraordinary abilities that could help their projects. So was it Department Zero or some other mysterious force at play here in terms of your family being protected and eventually being given passports to leave Romania?
Yeah, it's very interesting because I feel that there was definitely Department Zero involved, but I feel that there were other higher powers that were working with Department Zero that made this happen. We were literally, Dr. Sala, protected as if in a bubble. Now, when I want to share this also, when I was 6 years old and I was walking to school, there was it was winter time, and I was walking, and all of a sudden this man came out of nowhere alongside of me. He was dressed in a black coat, black hat, and he said, "Oh, little girl, your backpack looks so heavy. Let me help you with it." And he grabbed my hand, grabbed the backpack, and started walking with me. And when we got near the school, I said, "Oh, there's my school." And he grabbed my hand closer, tighter. And a neighbor came down the street and said, "Corina, what are you doing? Your school is over there." And I knew he had a car waiting on the main street. So this is what I'm saying. There have been definitely two different powers at play here. Through the people, I believe one was through the Securitate that were not good. Like, for instance, when I was 4 years old and we were at the Black Sea, those experiences when I was gone, those were good. In other words, those were not bad people, bad entities that were working with me. 2 years old, bad. I'm not sure about this intelligence officer when I was 7 years old. This is the only one I have questions of if he was good or bad. Obviously, when we attempted to escape the second time, the phone call that the major got, the major that had special cases received, was from somebody good that was trying to protect. The people that were over the passports that concerned my mom were good, because I know that now I realize that in order for them to protect me, we were supposed to leave the country. We were supposed to leave Romania. Now, I do want to say, Dr. Sala, I started going into my memories and trying to find out what I can remember. And I'm going to share with you right now something because I think that you may find this of very interesting, and I think it's important. Last year, I had a quantum hypnosis session done, and I was told that I came from a region called Esicora. I had no idea what that was. I never heard of it. And I put it on the shelf. So probably about 2 months ago, I did an ascension and I asked Divine Creator, please show me what I need to remember for this moment in time. So after I saw my timeline and how that looked, umbilical cord, I had another memory. And again, I had my two friends with me, and I love it because they can collaborate, because they saw things before I even said it. And when I said it, they were like on the floor because they had seen it. I saw myself and I went inside these mountains, and there was a force field there. like a bluish light force field. I was able to go through the force field, and I was in this room with a lot of buttons. It was like almost like it was like a circular room, a lot of buttons, and there was a chair, and that chair was like a dentist chair, but a little bit wider, and and it was quite comfortable. There were beings around me, and they did not feel negative at all. I had no fear. Now, Dr. Sala, I started singing. I do sing, and I do also sing. But anyway, I started singing, but I started singing codes. And as I was singing, I saw these light switches, buttons around. Yes, there you go. Turning on. They were all turning on. And all of a sudden, as I looked up, I was in this chair. A portal opened up, and I saw the cosmos. Beautiful. I saw it beautiful, different colors of different parts of the cosmos. Now, as I was in that chair, these beings, all of a sudden, my DNA was not tangled up, Dr. Sala. It was rolled up. And all of a sudden, they untangled my DNA, and they pulled strings of my DNA. And each string had a different color, different frequency. And they stretched it all the way up through this portal that I was seeing. And it was connecting to a star system or a planetary system. And there were 24 strings. So I had 24 different strings of DNA that were different colors, literally connected to different star systems. And this is when I was told, Corina, a Sikora is not a place. It's a group of 24 ancient elders that are connected with these star systems. And this is where you came. Now, Dr. Sala, I knew nothing of it. And then I found out today I was talking to a dear friend, Elena, and she told me about the 24 seeders that are part of the intergalactic confederation that have seeded humanity, that are connected to the 24. And apparently Alex Collier was talking about it. I fell down and I cried, because I've been told over and over that I am an ancient. And now I couldn't fit that in the Bible, but Dr. Sala, because I'm a Bible researcher, I found it. And even Enoch talks about it. Enoch talks about the seed of the ancient seed or race, the race of the chosen, or the seed of the chosen, the ancient, and the just ones that came from their higher, that came from the higher realms, their heaven above, and they came down to mingle and mix with humanity. So I found the proof anyway with that. So what I'm trying to say is, all of a sudden, as my DNA was activating, this space that I was in took off. So this is one memory that I cannot collaborate with anybody. I can't call my parents and say, hey, what do you think of this? But this is my memory. And because I have walked in the spirit realm, connected with divine creator, connected with Yeshua since I was 7 years old, and even before then, I know that these memories are true. So,
well, so with that memory, I mean, how old is that memory? I mean, you mentioned like several days ago, remembering something. So when did you have that memory of this chair, this special chair, and the portal opening and the three beings? Well, when did that happen?
This memory that I had was very recent. It was probably back in February or March, because I started asking questions. Okay, there's something going on. What? Because I've been told for a while now that there's something about my DNA. There are abilities in my DNA. So I knew that. I could not, and even with my husband, I would tell him many times, baby, I know I can't put this quite in the Bible. I can't put this in the Christianese dogma, but there's something. I am not from here. There's something different. So anyway, so I started checking and asking and going in the memories. And this particular memory, about January, February, between January and March, no later than that. And it keeps coming back, and more and more and more. And another memory that I had was connected to when I was 4 years old, when I was actually at the Black Sea. When I mentioned what I saw, Dr. Sala, I saw myself walking, and it was another world, and it's underneath the Black Sea. I knew nothing. I don't know anything of any cities, being underneath Constanza, where the Black Sea is. Now, what I did see that I was walking on sand that was black sand, but it was fine. It was extremely fine sand, but it was black. It was whatever you call that stone that is black. I can't think right now. So I'm getting these memories. Oh, and I want to mention this also because I know it's connected to all of these things that I'm remembering now. When I was 2009, I took a team to Romania. We were going to go to Vlad Tepes's hometown. We had some, assignments to do there. I'm talking about spiritual assignments to do there. And on the way there, Dr. Sala, we stopped at Hunedoara Castle. Now, Hunedoara Castle is Matei Corvin's castle. It was built in the 15th century, one of the most beautiful castles, supposedly throughout Europe. We just stopped to kind of stretch our legs and get back in the car and go to our destination. And Dr. Sala, they were closing the castle. They were closing the tour. So the guy said, just run in and run out. We literally ran in. I don't know anything about Hunedoara Castle, Matei Corvin's castle. I knew nothing. Quite honestly, I didn't care at that moment in time because I had an assignment. Dr. Sala, we come outside the castle. Me and my team are in a circle. We're talking before we get in the van. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a tiny, short, little gentleman approaches out of nowhere, Dr. Sala, like he materialized, comes literally in between us, the circle, with a huge skeleton key in his hand and a seal in his hand, does not say a word, comes directly to me. Now, for anybody that knows me, knows that I would have asked a gazillion questions like, who are you? And what is this? And why are you giving it to me? Is this mine? What does this pertain to? Something came over both of me and the whole team that was there to where we did not have the ability to process or ask any questions. Dr. Sala, all I was able to do, I stretched my hands out like this. He puts the key and that seal in my hand. My dear friends, that's part of the team, takes pictures. Thank God their brain worked that much. Takes pictures. He looks at me. I put it back in his hand and he walks out. The moment he walked out of the circle, Dr. Sala, our minds came to. And I looked to the team and I was like, what is that? The moment I looked back, he was not there. It's almost like he either shifted dimensions or dematerialized. Now, this was flesh and blood. This was not a vision. This was not an apparition. This was a literal flesh and blood. I wish I can see clear what is on that seal because I think very much it's connected. And somehow, Dr. Sala, I feel it's connected to the Bucegi Mountains. I feel it's connected to whatever I did in that memory. And come to find out, I did some research and I also asked my dad, the Hunedoara Castle is located in the Carpathian Mountains that is more connected with the Apuseni Mountains, which are very much a key of the Transylvania book series also. So there are so many pieces, Dr. Sala, that are and memories that are here and here and here and here.
Yeah, well, let's try and get a little bit of kind of like clarity as to when these experiences happen. Now, I mean, you talk about the city of like the underground city,
Yes.
and then you talk about this man approaching you when you're there in Romania with a team, and you're given this key. Are those incidents or memories connected in some way?
I don't know. This one with the city under Constanza, that's a memory that I started having of what happened to me in one of those days when I was lost, when we were at the Black Sea. So as you can see, Constanza right there, and right there is the Black Sea. So yes, and actually, we went to one of the cities when I was lost. It was called Mangalia at the Black Sea. So what I knew in the memory that I had when I was 4 years old is that I went to a city that was underneath. I did not know anything about any city being underneath. So I started doing some research, and then I saw this picture that you had, and of course I freaked in a good way, like, you know. So that's for one day when I was missing, when I was lost, when I was 4 years old, that particular memory with the city.
Okay, so let's just to clarify for people, that image is from the Radu Cinema book that shows the underground cities beneath Romania. And so when you were 4 years old and you disappeared for a period of time, you saw this image, and
Yes.
somehow that triggered a recollection or knowledge that you were there at that's when you disappeared near the Black Sea.
Yes, correct. And I'm seeing on this picture that you have the Apusen mountain, which is very interesting because well, they are a big region. So the where Hunedoara is on the map, connected to on the map with Romania, is up on the western side of Romania, a little bit in the middle, not quite. That's where Hunedoara is. But it's interesting because the Apusen mountain is very close to Hunedoara Castle, where this gentleman came in 2009 and put the key in my hand and that seal. So somehow they're all connected.
Okay, so in 2009, when you saw that gentleman, that older gentleman, I mean, you're obviously living in the United States. You're an adult, and you're there. He gives you this key, and now it has inscriptions on it. I mean, it has some kind of the actual seal looks like hieroglyphs or something. Identify any of those symbols on that seal?
No, I've tried to ask, people that know what they're doing. I've tried to look. My son, he's doing computers in school right now in college. He downloaded a program to try to find it. I think I have an image in my head, and that's all I'm seeing. So I don't want to be based on, because I've already formed a thought of what it is. But it's definitely something. And again, that's what I'm saying. People that know me would realize that I'd be like, what is that? Sir, who are you? Can I look at that? But the fact that all of our abilities to think or to process any sort of thought process was taken, I know that lets me know that it was not time for me to see that or to understand that. But they're all connected, Dr. Sala. This was in the physical. This was not a vision. And I wasn't the only one that saw this person. He almost looked like a peasant that was dressed, in like these old-timey jackets when they would go to the market or when they would go to the square on Sunday. Very sweet, thin, white hair gentleman, short, maybe 4'9", maybe 5 feet tall, very sweet, kind presence, very thin. And this has been a mystery for me, trying to find out what it is, but somehow they're all connected, Dr. Sala. The Apusen, the Bucegi, the Apusen Mountains, my DNA, the cosmic, the 24 star systems, it's all connected, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how they all play together, how they all work together.
Now, one of the things in your story that you didn't explain, and maybe you can tell us now, is when and did you actually leave Romania? Was it before or after the collapse of the communist regime there?
It was before. So we left August of 1983. This is when we were able to leave. So it was before, because the fall happened in 89, I believe, and it started from Timișoara, my hometown. So yes, we arrived in the U.S. August of 1983.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So this is 1983. Your family is allowed to join your father in the United States after the intervention of this major in the Romanian intelligence service. So what do you think made them do that? Because if they've identified you as a person of exceptional abilities, or someone of interest, the Romanian intelligence service, I mean, why would they let you go? I mean,
Yeah,
are we
that's
talking about some other force other than the intelligence community intervening?
so. From what I understand, is the Securitate Department is different than the branch of the intelligence department. Yes, the Securitate has their own intelligence, but then there is another branch of intelligence that does not answer to the Securitate. So I am not sure if this branch answered to Department Zero or I'm not sure. What I feel very strongly, and even my parents agreed, is that there were powers that be in the government that wanted to make sure that we get out of the country. Maybe had we not gone out of the country, um, my life would have been different, and I would not be able to do what I'm doing right now. Um, for sure, I would not be able to do what I'm doing right now, and maybe I would not be able to. Um, I don't know. I know that there's something at play here. I know for positively that part of the plan of the good ones to protect me and my family was to get us out of Romania. I don't know what would have awaited for us in Romania. I'm not sure when the three-digit American powers entered in Romania and how they're connected to do horrible experiences. Um, you know, the three-letter organization. I'm not sure when they came in Romania. I did hear that they did come in Romania and were functioning around the Black Sea early, uh, late 60s, early 70s. So I believe if that's the case, when I was taken the first time, when I was 2 years old, from the nursery to the Black Sea, they maybe the evil ones that maybe are connected with this three-letter organization were part of that. And there is another branch that is not evil, and they are the ones that I believe wanted us out of Romania for my protection.
Okay, so there's a connection here to the Bucegi Mountains. Now, we know that the Bucegi Mountains, the discovery there, the Hall of Records, that was made 2003 was when they were discovered, according to the Transylvania book series, right there in the kind of like in the central region of Romania along that Carpathian
Yes.
mountain range. That you have the Bucegi discovery, the Hall of Records, and the American intelligence community began working with the Romanian intelligence community, and shortly after that, Romania is fast-tracked into NATO. And so the Hall of Records was a very important discovery that kind of like, as far as the US intelligence community, was important enough to get the Romanian, the nation, fast-tracked into NATO. So, and I know you mentioned some connection to the Hall of Records. You mentioned the chair. You mentioned some kind of frequency shield. Now, I mean, that's interesting because Radu Cinemat in his books describes this frequency shield that Caesar Brad had to first go through to be able to kind of get access to the Hall of Records. So, yeah, any more information about the Bucegi Mountains, given your experiences and your background there?
Yeah, I don't have any more information right now. I mean, I'm getting memories that are coming in, so I'd like to keep that until I get more pieces of it coming together so I can have a fuller picture. There's definitely something there, Dr. Sala. There's definitely memories are coming, and I would love to at some point come back and maybe share those particular memories. But absolutely, like when I went on that chair, there was a force field there was a force field there, and it was a very like a blue force field, and I was able to go through it. So and I know it's connected to my DNA. I know that these particular kind of the Hall of Records or these particular chairs are connected to specific DNA. And so yeah, this is what I can share for now, because memories are still coming in. I'm literally in the process of waking up and getting all these memories piece together, and they're coming in pretty fast. They're coming in like, weekly. Like I said, all these memories have come in since between January through March, and they're still coming in. So I am on such a quest for truth, because this is my thing, Dr. Sala. The more I can awaken into this truth, the more I can help others, because there are so many. I'm just going to talk about the Christian leaders or the Christians per se, and also leaders, Dr. Sala, that are having memories. They are having memories of different lifetimes. They're having memories of things that they don't hear from the pulpit. They cannot find in the Bible. And if they go to try to speak to other leaders, they're either told that they are demonized, that they need demonic deliverance, or that they've lost their mind. So then you wonder why you have Christians and more particular Christian leaders taking their life, because they don't know what to do with these memories that are coming. So my desire is always, that's why I have, the Quest for Truth, Hidden Mysteries TV, because we have to start waking up, breaking outside the fear, the programming of fear, control, and manipulation that religion has put us in, limiting us, limiting our ability and our authority and our knowing of who we really, really is, binding us in this control box where they tell us what to think, who we are, who we're not, what we can do and what we can't do. So, Dr. Sala, I myself am on such a journey. I have been on a journey of the quest for truth, so that I can awaken, and then I can help whosoever chooses, because there are people out there that are getting memories, that are waking up, and they don't know what to do with it. So this is what I'm doing.
Well, I think that's very important work. I know that these kinds of DNA abilities that some people have to be able to access certain places is something that's very highly sought after by the intelligence community. People have innate gifts because of their DNA, because of their genetics.
Yes.
And unfortunately, some religions try to suppress that. And I know from your books that you are trying to activate
Yes.
people to gain access to those abilities. Now, I know that there's a lot more material for us to kind of like go over in terms of your kind of like a spiritual background, your exposure to some secret teachings, the Order of Melchizedek.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a lot to say about the Old Testament and the New Testament and in terms of the deities. So, before we kind of finish this interview, is there anything you want to kind of like say that might connect your background, your very unusual background, with the kind of work you're doing now?
Yeah, what I want to say is to everybody watching, we are all special. Nobody is above anybody. You're just as special as the next person. We have just been asleep. We have been under a spiritual amnesia where we did not remember who we are and whose we are. And if you do not know whose you are, you will never know who you personally are, because you can only go as far up into who you are as the image that you have of a creator or of a father. So I want to encourage each and every one of you. You are special. You have power that's inside your DNA. You are not a slave. You are not a victim. You are a victor. There is something so powerful in your DNA that's waiting for you to activate it. It's waiting for you to remember. So I encourage you, anything that comes out of fear, do not listen to it. Anything that comes out of control, do not listen to it. But everything that comes out of love, listen, a fearless man gets out of the prison. Though with caution, he escapes the prison. A fearful man, though you open the door of that prison, he will stay inside that prison because fear controls him. So I encourage you, do not give in to fear. And another thing I want to encourage you, do not give in to this unity. Unite in love. Step into that power that always tells you what you can do. Don't listen to the voices that tells you what you can't do. The word can should not even be part of our vocabulary, because I can do all things through the Christ anointing, the power that divine creator has put in me. And you guys, there is no limits to what you can do. The sky is not even the limit. So I encourage you to seek, knock, and ask, because let me tell you something. The age of apocalypse is here, and it does not mean doom, gloom. Yes, can that be part of it for the ones that look to it? Because whatever you look to, you multiply. Whatever you look to becomes the source of your supply. So if you look at the apocalypse as doom, gloom, and destruction, you are creating that, because you are a creator. You have the power to create in you. But if you look at the word apocalypse, what it really means, apocalypse means the great revealing. You guys, this is a time and a season when this being, the spirit of truth, is here, waiting to reveal to you truth that has been hidden for ages. And even the Bible says, even from angels, but waiting for you to engage in it. But it's your choice. So if you choose to walk your path of your quest for truth, you guys, there is nothing that can stop you but you yourself by engaging in fear. So I encourage you, be bold, be fearless, and walk your path for the quest of truth. And remember who you are, because you are great, you are powerful, you are mighty, and there's nothing that you cannot do when you set your heart, your desire, and your mind to it. So I bless you guys. Dr. Sala, I can't hear you. There we go.
Okay, so yeah, I just want to thank you, Corina, for sharing that information about your background, and for telling us a little bit about the kind of spiritual wisdom that you've accumulated, your understanding of how each individual can play a special role in what lies ahead. I'm looking forward to talking to you again about some of the spiritual teachings, especially the Order of Melchizedek, the Book of Enoch, how that kind of relates to our understanding of Yahweh, the demiurge, and the true Christ teachings. So these are things we can talk about in our next interview, and maybe relate all that to what you know of the Cedars and how that pertains to this big picture. So again, thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Dr. Sal, for having me. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Sala. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Sala. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.